Hi, folks. Joseph Kursky here with you today to talk about why some things are difficult or hard to map. Today's GIS tools allow us to make some pretty amazing maps from some incredibly rich, detailed, oftentimes near real-time or real-time, and also historical data sources. Yet, in our modern big data GIS-enabled world, there are still things that are hard or difficult to map. Consider the following, and I would like to acknowledge and thank my colleague and cartographer from Esri, Aileen Buckley. For most of these ideas, I have modified Aileen's information with some of my own ideas and content. It may be because it is an abstract concept like happiness or freedom. Abstract, subjective concepts often have no clear spatial boundaries. How do you put emotions, cultural identity, social dynamics, political ideologies, and belief systems on a map? Complex human experiences, perceptions, and interactions are difficult to represent through geographic coordinates or spatial data, although social science data is increasingly being integrated into GIS. And for more information about that, see our Esri Social Sciences Initiative. It may be because you need to map something, but you can't show its location, like archaeological sites, indigenous or tribal sacred sites, specific protected animal species, or protected caves. I, for example, am a member of the caving community. There's a National Cave Protection Act in the USA, for example. These kinds of things have known locations, which are often stored in reputable GIS databases, but disclosing their locations may, sadly, make them targets for damage or destruction from those who do not respect them. For more information about that, see my post here on the Spatial Reserves data blog. It may be because the data are just not easily obtainable or generatable, or it doesn't exist in digital or even paper form. I get this question somewhat frequently. Hey, Joseph, I want to map hour by hour fortifications of the lands surrounding Fort Sumter, South Carolina in 1861. Well, we have a general idea, especially through Eric Larson's new book on the Demon of Unrest, about the details of day-to-day happenings at Fort Sumter, but we don't know hour by hour exactly what surrounding batteries were being fortified by the Confederacy. Or, hey Joseph, I want Europe's boundaries in December 1650. You might be able to spend a lot of time to generate a facsimile of the above two examples, but I always challenge people to ask themselves, is it worth doing? If you have some materials that make good research sources or good teaching sources, rather than trying to shoehorn that into GIS and spend a lot of time and effort on it, rather take something that is more readily available and focus on those things and use your other sources for those difficult to map things. Certainly, there's no dishonor in trying to map things that have never been mapped before. Indeed, that's a large part of modern GIS use, but I hope you see where I'm going with that. It might be because there isn't any definitive data, like human trafficking or organized crime. The data for things of a covert or clandestine nature are often not from well-known authoritative sources, like the Census Bureau or U.S. Geological Survey. And like archaeological sites, you don't want to map individual layers, or people, features, because that may be, at the very least, invading their privacy, or at the worst, put them in harm's way. Traffickers often operate under the radar, and the victims are often hidden. Victims may not want to report their situation for fear of being rediscovered by the traffickers. They may not identify as victims. They may blame themselves, and for a variety of other reasons. And data recorders may not be able to verify claims or don't classify something as a crime in the first place. It may be because it is something that people have a predetermined, sometimes visceral reaction to something, like, in brackets now, name a contentious issue in society, close bracket. Will the map readers be more inclined to look at the map if you use one set of terms versus another? If the map paints a favorable picture for one side of an issue, people who agree with the other side are sure to oppose it or at least disregard it. Or it may be because the science behind the map is difficult to understand and even more difficult to communicate. I think of some of the AI, wonderful as they are, some of the AI-enabled algorithms in GIS. Do we understand what's behind those algorithms? Do we understand what's behind all the climate change scenario models and other things? So it may be difficult to understand and difficult to communicate. Not to say that those aren't worth pursuing and finding more digestible, understandable ways to create, model, map, and communicate the results, but that may be another reason. So those are just a few reasons why something may be hard or difficult to map. I look forward to your reactions. Thanks.